Welcome to Through the Fire with Angelina Paul, a space where every story matters, every voice is honored, and no journey is left untold. Let's journey together through the flames, uncovering the beauty of redemption, restoration, and the unbreakable human spirit. So, welcome to Through the Fire with Angelina Paul. Happy New Year again. I keep saying Happy New Year because you only get a certain length of time to say that before it's old and it's still January. So I'm saying Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Ngozi. Welcome. I'm happy to have you here and share a story. In fact, today I'm actually ecstatic. Can I tell you that you are the first African sister to grace the microphone? So I feel at home right now. Today, awesome. I am with my people.
That's good. That's fun.
Today, I'm with my people. So I'm just kind of working things roundabout today because I'm in that mood. I know that you are a strong advocate for self-love and self-care. Whenever I have conversations with my guests prior to coming on the podcast, I've found that there's always wisdom that is dropped. And I find so many profound things that people share with me. And one of the most profound things that you shared was concerning parenting. Mm-hmm. And you spoke about ensuring that it is a team relationship as opposed to one person doing it all. I just want to kind of start there with you. How did you come to that awareness, and how do you practice it in your own family?
My parents have been married for almost 40 years, and I'm the oldest kid, and they have 13 of us.
Okay.
So I saw my mom and dad create a very equal relationship. So my mom made decisions and my dad also made decisions, but they honored each other's decision, and that helped me. Like most of us are very, very successful because we've always had equal support.
Right.
And my mom had, even though she was a stay-at-home mom, she was able to be self-employed and create businesses as she went along. So I felt like parenting is a journey that two people choose to go on. And women or men don't, overtake each other. Like you're not a better parent because you're a man or a woman. You're just a parent when you're with your partner. So yeah, those are the foundational truths I had from my own parents, and it worked for them. So I feel like as a married woman with a blended family, we are all equal partners. If we parent, if we are choosing to be in our kids' life, we are going to contribute equally.
Right. I love that because growing up myself as an African kid, it always seemed to me like my mom did a lot.
Okay.
So it's interesting to me that an African sister would have that awareness and seeing the togetherness of your parents.
Yeah.
Because I remember that I spent more time with my mom than my dad. I definitely don't resent that, but I think in some ways when I became a parent, I did carry that pressure of performing overly as the woman in the relationship. So I feel refreshed to hear that perspective. And I think why I pointed that out at the beginning, it's causing me to reflect as well and look at whatever made me come to that conclusion about my parents. They may very well have been equally parenting, just different roles and different dynamics. So it's allowed me to open myself up to a new perspective just around that story. Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about your journey from Nigeria to Canada and how your life changed after immigrating?
Yeah, so most of my life I wanted to be a medical doctor. So most of my my upbringing was very academic.
Yeah.
So I moved to Canada to get a better education compared to what I had in Nigeria.
Yeah.
But in college, I decided that wasn't for me. I've always supported my parents in their business. I've always been self-employed as a hairstylist. So I ended up with a degree in biotechnology and business administration.
Right.
So I enjoy business. I enjoy retailing and customer service and sales. Like anything that allows me to interact with people
Right.
in that setting is what I do. I like one-on-one interaction with people.
Right.
Even though we're in a business setting, I like that in-person interaction. So yeah, so I've kind of moved on out of the
Right.
medical science world.
Yeah. Do you think that coming to Canada allowed you to explore that side of you that is more business and more community and more people than when you were first coming and set on pursuing medicine?
Yeah, I think there was more availability and access to information.
Right.
And my professors at Trinity Western University, they were very open minded and they allowed us to explore different fields
Right.
in the university there. So I mean, my first business class was like, this is what I'm meant to do, so I'm going to do it. So I had very good environment to grow my own interest outside of being in medicine, or even my degree is mostly like a business. Biotechnology is applying solutions
Right.
using animals and plants
Yeah.
to solve problems. So getting a business degree allows you to succeed as a biotechnologist. And I wasn't really into the lab environment. Like that wasn't my thing.
Right.
So
So can you tell me a little bit? So I because I'm a podcaster, I watch a ton of podcasts. And I watch the ones that really bring in a lot of diversity. I also watch a ton of them from, people like Trevor Noah, Lupita Nyong'o has started. So this is our community, right? And one of the things they've brought to the table is how, especially when they speak of Nigerian families, that there's only three professions: doctor, professor, or I don't know what the other one is, teacher, doctor, professor, or something like that, engineer. It's engineer, doctor, professor, right? So this is a conversation that's happening in a ton of podcasts. I've seen a lot of other Nigerian leaders and community influencers, especially actors like the Idris Elbas, they're coming. There's Aaron Pierre, who's Caribbean. They're coming forth and they're having this conversation of how these are the set professions for you. I want to know from you, how did you navigate this with your family, where you say, Mom, Dad, I'm not going to be Dr. Ngozi anymore. I am going to pursue business, and I am going to, do biotechnology, and that's the path. So they got you on a plane, because I know that experience when we're back home and someone puts you on a plane. Your parents, they've worked very hard. They've saved a ton of money. They put you on a plane and they're expecting you to come back with your white coat 4 years later or 5 years later. I just want to know, from that perspective of us in the immigrant community, or those of us with an Afro-Caribbean background, how did you navigate telling your parents the transition of what you've chosen to do in your life?
I think it has been a very long, resistant journey with my parents, where they felt I was going below my potential.
Yeah.
But for me, I always look at the quality of my life.
Yeah.
And the content in my life over like accumulation.
Right.
I think most of the desire to get educated, whether in medicine or in law or any other profession, for these African parents is, my child is going to be rich, or they'll
It's
have
connected
this
to money
career that is established. But for me, I feel as a millennial, we went out of the box.
Yeah.
And we're like, what kind of relationships do we have? What kind
Yeah.
of connections do we have, whether with friends
Yeah.
or with our children? So we were shaping how income was being made, whether you were making residual or passive income as
Right.
opposed to going to a 9 to 5 job every day.
Right. So you're redefining what it means to be wealthy.
Yeah.
Right. And really looking at what makes your life feel whole.
Yeah.
Right. That's really interesting because you are telling the truth. A lot of it, work for us growing up, and I think this is any community. It's not just our community, is you're going to get a job so you can make money and you're able to take care of yourself. And of course, the bigger the job, the more responsibility the job, the more status the job comes with, the more money that it is, and the more access you have to do many, many other things. Was your family receptive after you had explained what this means and how the role that you're going to take after business school and biotechnology is still going to be very impactful in community and society?
Yeah, I think for my dad, he had a career as a chemist and
good.
he worked in the oil and gas industry. So
Yeah.
he resented it. He preferred being self-employed himself.
Yeah.
But he still felt we owed him to be educated and he wanted to pay for our education till PhD. My mom, on the other hand, as a stay-at-home mom and a real estate investor and someone that created businesses while raising kids, she didn't see the desire to force us to keep going for education.
She was a creative herself.
Exactly. So I feel, and then there are roles a woman is supposed to play, which is, for my dad, he felt like my husband would be my financial source of support. I think most parents will assume that.
Yeah.
But for me, I didn't see that. I felt that with or without my husband or the father of the children, I can still provide for my kids.
Yeah.
So for me, creating income in any capacity was more of the goal.
Yeah.
If I'm going to raise a family. So yeah, that was my boundary for myself. I'm going to raise kids, but I'm going to be present while raising them.
Yeah.
But I'm also going to provide some form of income
to
raise my children. So
yeah. It is good when, for people like yourself to step up, because it definitely, and even as I'm mentioning all these places that I've been watching that conversation happening, that it has great value, because then now the children that are coming out of Africa or any other parts of the world, they can see the value of being a creative, because we also grew up in communities where we went to the grocery store, there was someone who sewed our clothes, someone who did our hair.
Exactly.
And for some reason, what was coming out when you're in the home is, this is somewhat not important, yet it is what makes our society function. So it's very valuable to have these conversations, and what you did, it might have seemed in the moment that you did for yourself, but now it's actually trickling down to us raising our kids in this generation. As you said, you're a millennial, and really putting that across, that creativity is really important.
Yeah.
So you've immigrated to Canada, and I want to take you to when you initially met your husband. What drew you to your husband?
He decided that most of the jobs were annoying, so he just created his business consulting firm. And I was drawn to the fact that even though he had a degree in biology from UBC, he was working towards marketing, business consulting. So he was building a career in that art and sector.
Yeah.
So when I met him, I felt this is a good match because I'm going to be mostly self-employed.
Right. So
a business
it was
owner.
Familiar to you.
Yeah.
This is what you also wanted for yourself.
And I felt like it's easier to raise a family with someone that respects that you might not be going to a regular job every day.
Yeah.
And you might be setting your own hours and schedule for work just to be more present, whether in the marriage or in the home.
Right.
So that was a common agreement for
Yeah.
us. And
So that was an attraction to you because
Yeah.
you didn't have to expound on your vision and
No.
explain in a profound way. You were meeting someone where, it's like the meeting of the minds of two people
Yeah.
that really want the independence of owning a business and being able to have your time, choose what you do with your time. So
Yeah.
that was attractive to you.
Yes.
So I want to talk about, so your husband is white Canadian.
Yeah.
And we've already established that you are this gorgeous African queen. And so you meet your husband and you start dating him. Can you tell me some of the complexities that came within the time that you were dating? I'm talking about any cultural or racial differences. How did that begin to shape your early relationship?
So between me and my husband, there's some very distinct differences. He's
Yeah.
15 years older than me, but he was raised in a very broken home.
Yeah.
But like his mom has been married 3 times, and his dad was out. His biological father is out of the picture, so he wasn't really coming in with a very united family.
Right.
And his mom has been, because of her own history about marriage or even raising kids, there was a lot of struggle to accept me as a stepmother for his 3 boys.
Right.
And then his ex-wife and her family, they had a very racist condition for why I was coming in.
Right.
And they felt I was going to take my stepchildren out of the country, or like take them far away from them, which
Right.
is weird. Like a flight to Nigeria is 17 hours. So even if you go to Nigeria, you can come back anytime. So it's like, and then I got feedbacks of Nigeria is poor, it's horrible, you'll be sick, you'll be that if you go for vacation in Nigeria.
Right.
Like,
so you've met your husband. He's a divorcee.
Yes.
And he has 3 children.
Yeah.
Okay. And you don't have any children.
No children.
And so you're coming into the family, and the first thing that they see is your skin color. And they feel that because you're making a connection with the stepchildren, that one of the things that you could do is take the children to Nigeria. Mm-hmm. And so they began to warn your husband. If they go to Nigeria, it's a very poor country. And if they go there, they might not return.
Yeah.
So we are not going to be able to be in their lives. Mm-hmm. On top of that, what were some of the things that they began to say to you because you're Black?
For my mother-in-law, she went around telling everyone I was marrying him for immigration.
Okay, so you're looking to get your papers to stay in Canada.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I was planning to go to Australia for my master's degree. So
right.
Honestly, if I was staying in Canada, it was because I met this Canadian man, and I was trying to see if my relationship will work out. But most importantly, I was working in Canada for 1 year and then planning to go to Australia.
Right.
So I meet him. So change of plans.
Right.
So behind the accusations going on, I could care less. I don't even want to be in Canada. I'm like...
So did they take the time to even want to know how you've come to Canada, what your plans are, or was it immediately, this woman is Black and Nigerian, the kids are already taking a liking to her, so there is a chance that you go to Canada, and then it was you are either wanting to marry him because you intend to stay? Was there any advances, anything that was from them in trying to get to know you?
No. There was no opportunity to even have any conversation. I was being told what I was going to do and what I wasn't going to do. His mom decided that I wasn't going to have any kids in the marriage. And she made it clear that I was marrying him for immigration and inheritance. So I didn't have any opportunity to speak for myself. But as a Nigerian person, I felt I don't really have a relationship with my in-laws.
Yeah.
And if I was even going to have any, it was only through my husband.
Right.
So I already had clear boundaries about my connection to them.
Okay.
So my husband was either going to present a rational, respectful Canadian experience for me for his family, and I
Okay.
was going to represent Nigerians.
Right.
But I felt the mom was controlling. So she was coming into my home. She was speaking in my face.
Okay.
Like she was just blurring the lines of my boundaries. So,
Right. So I want to just really clarify this because I think that a lot of people do experience this. And I think we need to have that conversation, many conversations around this, because some of the things that are still in the minds of many when it comes to interracial marriages, we can only begin to really see change if we talk about it. So you've met your husband, and so they're saying, one, Nigeria is poor. Number two is that you will take the children to this poor country. Number three is you're either marrying him for immigration or you're marrying him for his inheritance. And the other thing was you told me that they said something about voodoo.
yeah, so the ex-wife decided that her children were getting sick. They had a stomach bug.
Yeah.
And back then, we were still navigating what was causing the pain, even for me.
Yeah.
Especially after I got pregnant for the first time.
Yeah.
But she decided to communicate with my husband. Your Nigerian wife, her family is doing witchcraft on my kids. That's why they are hurting. They are having a hot tummy.
Okay.
Since you married her.
Right.
But as a biotechnologist with a science degree, I did my research and realized that because of the poor handling of our oldest kid's pet snake,
yeah,
because he was feeding him frozen mouse, but he wasn't. He was putting the mouse stuff around the kitchen and the dining table area. So we were getting sick from the snake and how it was handled.
So no one digs deep. The conclusion is there's this African woman, she's using voodoo on the children, doing witchcraft, and now the children are sick. And this is happening because the ignorance of not knowing your skill set and your education, they were not able to actually know that you could find a solution to this issue.
Yeah.
Everything that they were doing or how they were responding to you was based on race. Because you're Black, and it was based on all of these stereotypes that obviously float around in society and in many different communities. So you're being accused of all of these things. I want to go to, because of this happening earlier on in your relationship, even before you got married, I want to know, on the side of your parents in Nigeria, what were their thoughts of you being with this man? So I'm assuming that at this point they know that you're with a white Canadian man, that he is a divorcee and he has children whom you are building a relationship with because you've made the conclusion that the in-laws are on their own journey and you're taking on yours. What are the thoughts of your parents in Nigeria?
My parents felt it wasn't a very ideal situation for me to be a step parent, and they felt that most people coming out of divorce are not healthy, and there's a lot of issues with blended families. So they were very honest about it, and I respected that. At the same time, I felt like the kids were having abused and traumatized too long.
Yeah.
Because both parents, especially the ex-wife, have devoted their energy to an antagonistic warfare through the legal system.
Right.
So I was more like coming in and being a voice of reason and saying, the time you use to go after your ex-husband, or like worried about what he's doing at his home, you can spend quality time connecting with your own children.
Yeah.
Like there's a cry for help when people go through traumatic events.
Yeah.
But I guess there was no maturity. She said, "You're not a parent, so you can't tell me
You
what
cannot
to
say
do."
anything. So on the side of your parents, their hesitation is, statistics show that people that are coming out of divorces, they have a lot of work to do
Yeah.
before they can engage in another relationship.
Yeah.
And they were not feeling that work has been done at that time. And they also knew that blended families, there's a lot to navigate. And you're a single woman, you have no children. And so to your parents, they're feeling that you could do something, you could do better or do something different that would be more conducive for you in relationship.
Yeah.
So I want to know what are your thoughts? What are your feelings during this time? Because to me, at this time, there is no side that is really with you. Your family have their reservations. You are experiencing this extreme racial aggression from your husband's family. What is keeping you with this man?
I think most of it is I had hope that the children, number one, will eventually be healed from whatever pain they are going through. And I felt like my husband wasn't really going to handle being a single dad well, because he was constantly being abused by his ex-wife, like constantly.
So what are some of the things the ex-wife is doing to abuse your husband?
Most of the abuse is telling the kids your dad is horrible, telling me this man is horrible. And I understand that we all have adult conflict, but once children are trained to call their dad loser, to call their stepmom or their dad's girlfriend a loser, that means there's a bad actor in the mix.
Right.
So for me, I felt like this man will not survive being a single dad with this woman.
So why are you empathizing with this man? You just have met this man, and there's all these issues around where I'm trying to get to the source of your empathy. Because me right now, listening to it, and I'm sure someone else, I want to run. I want to run very, very far away from this guy. I want to listen to my parents and go find a single guy just like me and just not have these issues. Where is this empathy coming from? And where is this wisdom of being able to see that these children are actually hurt?
Yeah.
And that they're being manipulated. Everyone is manipulating whom they can to get to whatever it is they think is the prize. Where do you get this
It's
empathy?
coming from my husband's story. He was in a blended family and he was abused.
Right. So he was open and shared his story with you.
Yes, he was abused because his own mother was abusive.
Okay.
To her husband's family and the stepchildren in the marriage.
Yeah.
So I knew that most of these single women or men, they use post-divorce to antagonize or eliminate or erase the biological parent.
Right.
So my mother-in-law erased the biological father of my husband.
Right.
And the ex-wife of my husband is trying to erase my husband from the three boys' life.
Right.
So I was seeing parental alienation.
Yeah.
And the warfare that was happening to the children. For me, the children come first.
Right.
So I told my husband, either we get married or I leave, because I cannot be dating you and dealing with the complexity of how toxic your children are being, like the level of toxicity they are exposed to consistently.
Right. So your partner being able to vulnerably share their story with you, you were not going off of opinions that were going around. You had a conversation, communication with your person.
Yeah.
And you knew exactly what was the root of this. And so that's where your empathy was coming from.
His own children were going through this exactly the same thing his own mom had done to the biological father.
So you were seeing this pattern.
Yeah, it's a pattern.
Right.
And it happens all over Canada, where after a divorce, all of a sudden a parent is no longer a parent because a woman or a man choose not to be with the other person. So they demonize and remove that person and replace them with step parents. So I was going to be a step parent that was more on the side of the kid.
Right.
I don't care. I told my husband, I don't care what you and your ex-wife want to do, but get out of the way so these kids can heal.
Right.
Like deal with your issues and when they are adults even. But right now, it's not the best time to keep fighting or trying to be right.
So you were seeing things from his perspective based on the stories shared. You were seeing the pattern and you were seeing how this is going to potentially impact the children. I want to go back to when you said we're either going to get married because I can't deal with this complexity. So did you get married in order for you to feel that now this is your responsibility? Or was marriage already in the picture besides you feeling like, if I'm going to take this on, then I better be your wife?
We always wanted to get married, but I wasn't going to have a long dating relationship because
you were already in the mix.
I was already in the mix.
So why are we wasting time?
Yeah, and I was already helping him with the kids. He's a single dad.
Yeah.
Like cooking and most of the domestic things. I mean, his mom was helping him.
Right.
But the kids also needed someone at home to help them.
Right.
Because when both single parents are working, their kids are always abandoned by themselves at home. And single parents can't afford nannies or care. And I was able, based on my own career path, to be a stay-at-home parent.
Right.
And I could set my hours even at work. I could call in and say I would take in clients by 4 or 3 after school.
Right. So you were willing to go in with him on this, but you needed that commitment to say we're now man and wife and we're challenging this together.
Yeah.
As opposed to you're giving me all this responsibility and I'm just your girlfriend. If we're going to do this, then we're going to do it the right way. I want to go to the conversation at the dinner when your mother-in-law invites you for dinner and you think, oh, okay, I think maybe she's come to her senses. And now we're going to have a conversation because she knows we're about to take the next step. I know you alluded to it a little bit earlier, but I wanted to have its moment in this conversation because it's still shocking to me. So
it's still shocking me too.
There you go. So you're sitting at the table and what does she propose?
Oh, we go over to her house, which is like unlike her.
Yeah.
Because she has been avoiding me all through the dating and courtship.
Right. So through the dating, she didn't want pictures with you. She
doesn't want me around her and the grandkids.
Yeah.
And then she invites us to this dinner, which I felt was out of the blue.
Right.
So
when I went thinking,
I went because of my husband.
Yeah.
Just to honor him,
I
went.
Yeah, and then you're still dating. You haven't gotten married yet.
No, we're about to get married.
You're about to get married, yes.
But the thing is, my husband is not even telling her I'm going to marry her. Instead, my stepchildren are telling their grandmother that my dad is going to marry Ngozi.
Yeah, so information is moving.
Yeah, information.
Yeah.
So when she approaches us about getting married. We invite her to the wedding. We're excited, but then she's like, "Oh no, I'm not attending your wedding." Her deceased husband was there. Mm-hmm. She said, "We're not coming. I don't know why you're marrying anyway. You should live together, and I don't think you should have children if you decide to go through with getting married." And her reason was, my stepmother never had children with my dad and she took care of us. So you should do the same for your stepchildren. I said, actually, part of the reason why I married someone 15 years older that already has kids is I naturally would adopt kids.
Yeah.
But having biological kids is not the top of my list. So.
Right. And you mentioned that she was also saying, one, it would, make you more available for these kids to take care of them, but 2, that she didn't want biracial grandchildren.
I don't think she said that, but at that dinner, but the moment I got pregnant and had my first baby with my husband,
that's when she said
that was his request.
Yeah.
She's like, you shouldn't have had this kid. I don't know why you're having kids. And then there were emails and other communication where my husband had to get family planning done.
Yeah.
When that failed and we kept having more kids,
Yeah.
she...
So by family planning, you're saying she suggested that your husband...
It wasn't a suggestion. She told him, you have to make sure you don't have any more kids.
So you get a vasectomy. You can't have
Oh,
any
that
more
was the
children.
last...
That was the last straw.
The last step
Yeah,
after
yeah.
we had the sixth kid.
Yeah.
So it's like... It was just unbelievable, like I would say wickedness, like harassing me, making sure that I didn't have any help from my husband or my stepchildren. And she made sure that my stepchildren were always going to be on our property without our children there.
So she didn't attend your wedding.
No.
You guys get married and you have your friends who come to support you, and the children, your stepchildren are there.
They were there.
And she honored what she said. She wasn't going to show up.
She wasn't going to show up.
And now you're with your husband. You have decided, your husband has asked you if you will have a child, and you've honored that, even if it's not something that you really wanted to do, but you've made this decision to do this together. And that's when emails and messages start coming now.
And I'm reading them because
it's escalating. So we started with your girlfriend just remain a common law and just take care of the other kids. And then that didn't work. Now you're actually married and there's this abuse, and should be the one who's overly doing everything all the time. Now you've decided you're going to be a mom, and she knows that you're pregnant, and now we're getting messages saying this cannot be. And the relationship at that time is only your husband is allowed to be around her. Only the stepchildren allowed to be around her. You cannot be there, but she can come to your house.
Yes.
And when she comes to your house, why are we here?
She's coming because my stepchildren are there.
Okay, so I want to see the kids, but I don't want anything to do with you.
Yeah. And then if we're spending time, because we have a close relationship with the stepchildren, my husband and I, she tells me to keep quiet. She's very rude around me, and she, even at Thanksgiving, she wouldn't take pictures with me. For Christmas, she doesn't want me in pictures. And then she's taking pictures of my babies and whitening them out, making the lights, making them white.
Oh, so now you've had your children and they can be in the picture. So the Christmas picture is you're not in there. No. Your husband and all the children are in there.
My wedding anniversary is the same thing. She doesn't want me. She doesn't want my pictures. 5th wedding anniversary, she doesn't want me and my husband taking pictures with the kids and her. So
whenever she's in the mix, you have to go.
Yeah.
But when your children are there, she will allow your children to take family pictures, whether it's Christmas or whatever it is. But then when she presents the pictures, or she will make your children who are biracial look whiter, so that they're white passing.
So whenever I see pictures she take of my kids, I'm like, unbelievable. Who are they? But I never really read any meaning to it until Megan shared her story about how her own kids were being talked about within the royal family. And I was that's exactly what they are doing to my kids. Wow. They're trying to make my kids white. Like, she can't accept that they are biracial with a black mom.
Right. So when Megan came and we're talking about Prince Harry's, Meghan, should say it nicely, oh, hail the king. Hail the king and his sons.
So I can relate to their experience.
So the story comes out of, while you're going through this whole thing that we're talking about, and you're watching, and this is someone who is part of the royal family, and you realize that this is exactly...
They're doing the same to my children.
Thing. They're making your children white, passing in pictures so that they look like the white half-siblings. Oh, my God.
She prefers the white children to the... Like, she doesn't even want to bring them together.
Yeah.
She doesn't want them on her property together for Mother's Day. 2 years ago, we drove to go celebrate her. She refused. She told 2 of my stepchildren to stop us from even visiting with her and our children.
Wow.
It's like she has pictures on Facebook of just white grandkids.
And yours are part of those white ones
Oh,
because they've been whitewashed in the picture.
She doesn't even want them in pictures. Like if you go on her social media right now,
So she
no
won't post
evidence
them
that
any
my
longer.
children exist in the family.
So one thing that was really just gut-wrenching for me that you shared is your agreement with your husband was to have your one baby, but you realizing that your son is not being included, that it's now coming to light that your child is going to be alienated for the rest of their life.
Oh yeah.
And that actually made you decide
To have more kids.
more children.
Yeah. I had to have more
kids. So you can create a family.
Yeah.
For your son.
Yeah, because while I was trying to have a blended family and as a black stepmother raise my white stepchildren, the rest of the family were not having it.
Wow.
They were very clear, the ex-wife, my mother-in-law, they were very clear that they are not going to accept me in their life, and they were going to make it harder for my biological son to be part of their lives.
Wow. So you end up, now you're having children so that you can have that sense of comfort knowing that your son is not going to be by themselves. They're going to have, a family. And that to me
because my white stepchildren were asking why my son wasn't allowed with them at the grandmother's house.
Wow. So the children are also noticing this alienation.
They were the ones actually complaining and having issues.
Wow.
About it in the family. They were the first
half siblings are like, why is our brother not here?
And they notice grandmother.
And the adults are the ones saying,
the grandmother is upset that we are pregnant. She's upset that we're having babies. So in fact, the week I had my daughter, her first biological granddaughter, she made sure she didn't see my daughter for 3 weeks.
Wow. So we're celebrating a new baby. There's nowhere coming to say congratulations. No. It's just like nothing ever happened.
She just acts like my husband and I never had a baby that week. In fact, she had 3 of the kids at her house for sleepover. A new mom, she never offered to take my son.
To come and help, to hold the baby for you while you're recovering. None of that stuff. No. That is to me.
And that was during the pandemic where she told the whole family that me and 2 of my children, and I was pregnant then, that we were not part of our bubble.
Oh, so that's, you have so during the pandemic when you had to have your circle of 6 or whatever it was called, the bubble.
She removed us.
You and your children are not in the bubble.
My husband was in the bubble. 3 of my stepchildren were in the bubble. The ex-wife and her family were all in a bubble, except us.
But you are not.
Yeah.
So when any communication, any family thing that was happening,
she makes sure
such a difficult time where families needed each other, you were isolated.
No. And she was picking up my stepchildren from our house, from the school, but we were not in our bubble.
Wow. That is just, it's hard to hear in these times. You said something when we were just preparing for this that really hit me. And I think it's worth it to share here. You said when white women take care, adopt either black children or they marry a black man with children and they're step parents, it's celebrated in our society. But when you're a black woman and you are there availing yourself and doing everything you can to be a good step parent, or even if you are wanting to adopt white children, our society is a way about. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
So I went to school in the Lower Mainland. I was at Trinity Western University for 5 years. Yeah. And I noticed that I lived in Warner Grove, beautiful family-friendly place. And I noticed that most of the white women were adopting mostly black kids. Yeah. And even when I moved to Cologne, I saw many black children adopted by white parents.
Right.
But whenever I show up with my stepchildren, there was the assumption I was their nanny.
Yeah.
And if I wasn't their nanny, I was adopted.
Yeah.
You
You were
know?
the one who was adopted in the family.
Exactly. So it was like this.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think our society is like that? Why would we celebrate white women with black babies, but not black women with white babies?
I don't know. I think there is, I think the couple of times I've dealt with like social workers or like people generally
Yeah.
within the church environment, they assume that black women are aggressive or violent or
Right.
like,
Because we're assertive, it
Yeah.
means that we're angry.
so there is a stereotypical crazy black woman.
Yeah.
So
angry black woman.
Yeah, so you're not good enough to parent white kids, and there's a way you should show up for white children. I don't know if white women get prepared to show up for black kids differently, but there's a constant lecture going on about how you should talk, what you should do, which is like, it's so weird.
Yeah. Do you think it is a valid argument, though, to say that within our separate races, that if you were raising a white child, you wouldn't know what to do, and if if a white person raised a black child, they wouldn't know all what to do? You know why I'm asking this question? It comes from, in our communities, we tend to have, like, for example, there are people who have movements that resonate more with white women, and then you find people create, especially after the Black Lives Matter, there's a lot of black women, African women groups and whatever. It seems to send the message that us as black women, we cannot be served fully when we are just around white women, and white women are not served fully, And I'll say my point of view, and can tell me yours. Sure. My point of view is, as a black woman, I can interact and socialize with white women, but I do feel that there are struggles that are black, if I could say that. Yeah. There are struggles that only another person can understand. Yeah. There are things that I can share with you as an African sister, and you get it right away. Yeah. Right. And there's a way that we socialize as African people that I would never get hanging out with white women. So therefore, the need to still, even within our inclusivity, create these separate entities. Do you think that applies to raising children?
It doesn't.
Okay. Why not?
With children, they're actually blank slates.
Okay.
So if a black kid and a white kid are together, they are actually subconsciously accepting and tolerant of each other. Right. But if your white mother have instilled a racially biased view of a black stepmother to you, the child start developing a racial sensitive reaction to everything you say and do. Right. And I feel like black parents can also do the same when it comes to white relationship. Yeah. And for me, I tell my husband that we do things differently. Yeah. And that's okay. Right. But what isn't okay is shaming a black woman when she raises her voice or she has a sterner stand on how to discipline children. Right. Because in our culture, a child is the most protected person in the group. Yes. So the parents go overboard to keep that child safe. Right. Especially when it comes to respecting authority. Right. With white families, there can be like this blending of the child's identity with an adult. Right. Like a child is almost giving an adult's identification, and it confuses the child, because why you want your child to be assertive, you don't want them to assume that an adult is not in authority. Right. So be friends, be friends with your child when you're supposed to be, being responsible. Those lines to get blood among even my white friends. Yeah. They raise their kids, and it's a nightmare to watch sometimes. They are yelling at a 13-year-old kid, and I'm like, when I was 13, my parents trusted me. Yeah. Because they already disciplined me earlier. Right. Than waiting till I'm older to start being strict or whatever. So,
Right. I like your perspective about children are a blank slate.
They are.
And that,
There
they
are
are
lots of
taught to
movies
be,
about it.
yeah, they're
There are
taught
lots of
to
movies.
be
Yeah.
racist. They are taught to, all of these things are taught to them when they come into this world. I think they're the ones that can truly use the statement, they don't see color. Because I
don't.
know adults, we say that, but a lot of us do,
Yeah.
right? So they don't see color. So I want to know
And kids don't know who is a step parent, just so you know.
yeah, yeah,
It's only an adult that takes that time.
Yeah.
Like my children, for example, if they meet you
yeah,
and they notice I respect you, they'll assume you have authority over them because I raise my
and they
kids.
will just fall in line
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
Right.
But if a child has not been taught, respect
Yeah.
or honoring elders,
Yeah.
then they are going to start being rude.
Right. Yeah. They're going to try you. They're going to
Yeah,
see how far they can go with
so
you. Yeah. I think what you are talking about as far as just racial differences in blended families is very valid. I just wanted to share that just outside of that, though, on a general level, there is a stigma around being a step parent or the other person coming in the relationship.
Yeah.
Because for me, when I married my husband, I brought in my daughter from another relationship. He brought in a daughter from another relationship. And we've done the blended family thing. And I remember when my stepdaughter came from St. Vincent and came to live with us because we woke up one day and the mom said she was just having such a tough time. She'd had another baby and things are not working out and she would like some relief, which we openly accepted. And when she came, I don't know. And so imagine this is a woman, this child coming is 13. I met my husband when this relationship had ended over a decade ago. I never met her. She's never met me. She's in another country. And when my stepdaughter came, I had my daughter with me. And so she's interacting with her dad. She's interacting with my daughter because my daughter had vowed, Mom, she's going to be friends with me first. And she won't talk to me.
Okay.
And the first time that, the dad said, why aren't you, if you have something that you need, you have something that you want, you could talk to her or you could just talk. And then she said, so my husband is Caribbean. She said, I don't like she. Me no like she. So, me no like she. What me done? Anyway, what have I done? But someone had told her, you will not go and connect with this woman. You will not, and I say this because later on we discovered that was the case. You will not like her, you not have her. So how do you send your child into a home that's supposed to be a safe place, but you've already told her there's an enemy there? Mm-hmm. And you've told her there's an enemy, but you haven't told her why you're at war. Why this person became an enemy, because there is no reason. But because you are the mother telling your daughter you don't like this person, your daughter is going to listen even if they don't know why. And so it took a long time to develop a relationship with my stepdaughter because someone had said that. So I just had wanted to share that, even racial issues make it even tougher. But even without that, as a step parent coming in, even if the world talks about blended families, it's still a journey. It's still a struggle. It's still something that I think our society is working on. But I wanted to just find out from you, how have you kept your mental health in all of this?
So the first thing is, I am not here. Step parents will never replace biological parents, dead or alive.
Right.
And I really cherish the bond between biological family and their children.
Right.
So I'm an advocate that parental alienation of any kind is child abuse.
Right.
A child should be open to building any form of relationship with their biological family.
Right.
If it's safe and ideal, I encourage both parents to build that relation, including grandparents.
Right.
At the same time, most step parents are not equipped to deal with the dysfunction that divorce does to children.
Right.
we are actually not available, and we are not trained to handle the complex nature of your child going from your house to your ex's house.
Right.
So if you're going to do a good job, like, you have to transition your child better and say, you're going to be at your dad's and he might have a girlfriend or he might have a wife. Just understand that most of your relationship will be healthier if you respect who your dad loves.
Right.
And that applies to even gay relationship or other complex relationship out there. It's
Right.
like you need to teach your child to respect the choices and of these adults in their life. Because when you don't, you are actually, like, those people are hurting their own children.
Right.
Like my husband's ex-wife, she's hurting her children.
Right.
She's not doing any damage to me
Yeah.
or my husband or our own children in our home. She has actually spent more energy destroying her children's mental health and well-being.
Right. So your mental health is kept intact because your values are set.
Yeah,
You know what your
I don't
values-
overthink it.
Yeah.
I feel like I have more pain that these children are being abused
Right.
by their
And you will
grandmother.
not be one to contribute
I
to
don't,
that dysfunction.
I don't participate in it.
Yeah.
I actually tell the kids, I'm your step parent,
Yeah.
so I only step in when your parents fail,
Yeah.
and if they're doing
I like
great,
that. I only step in when your parents fail.
that's the only time. If my husband passes
Yeah.
away or his
Yeah.
ex-wife passes away or she decides to have a marriage that might not include her kids, I will
Right.
be there for them, but I'm not here to replace either of your parents or even
Yeah.
your grandparents.
Yeah.
And that is such a relief,
Yeah.
because as women, we overwork ourselves.
Right.
When we can step back like men. Men
Yeah.
do step back. They
Yeah,
they
yeah.
don't overperform
Yeah.
when it comes to family life. A man understand, I'm the uncle, I'm the stepdad, I'm the husband, and
Yeah.
they don't go beyond that.
Yeah. Stop
So-
trying to get Grammys and Golden Globes
I know.
doing the wrong thing.
No.
Okay.
And the kids do end up individuating from every one of us.
Yeah.
So you have to look at 10 years, 20 years, these kids will be adult anyway.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a temporary assignment. So I don't get my grain from raising kids ever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. So what has been your biggest lesson learned throughout all of this?
My biggest lesson is you can only love people as much as you love yourself.
Wow.
So when I encounter racist or ignorant people, I just say, boy, if you know how you can love yourself better,
Yeah.
you won't be in this position. It's like a typical example is when the US president back during the pandemic was like, let's shut down our borders because this virus is coming from China. And everybody was like, Trump is racist. I'm like, that's not how racism works, honey. Like, calm down.
Yeah.
Like, racism doesn't work when you put protective, structures in place.
Yeah.
I'm like, illegal immigration or whatever, it's like, that's not racism.
Yeah.
That's just common sense.
Yeah.
And I feel like I have evolved to a place where I don't attach people's inconsistent, ignorant behaviors.
It's not racist to create boundaries.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Like it's not.
Yeah.
And going forward, I tell people, your worst enemy is you.
Yeah.
It's never another person doing harmful things. It's
Right.
always you. It's how much you allow, right?
Yeah.
Like
It's you moving your boundaries every time.
Yeah.
This is my boundary. And
Yeah.
then next week it moves.
Yeah.
And if people can see that, they can push your boundaries.
Yeah.
What boundaries have you established for you and your family?
And we are actually not obligated to build relationship with anybody
Right.
that disrespects the peace of our home.
Right.
So our home is safe.
Yeah.
And safety looks like if you're struggling with addiction and you're not dealing with it in an honest way, you probably won't be in my home because
Right.
I have little kids to care for and their well-being comes before the adults or the teenagers. So it's very clear set boundaries. And
Right. And has this journey shaken anything as far as your relationship with your husband, or has it brought you stronger?
I think most of everything that happened destroyed everything we had
Yeah.
as a couple, and financially, emotionally, it took us out.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful for the church community, and I'm grateful for
Shout
social.
out to the church in Kelowna.
Yeah, and I'm grateful for marriage counselors. I'm grateful for the ROCMP.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for the Ministry of Family and Children Development. They've done excellent job with my own family
Right.
within Kelowna.
Yeah.
And they've made sure that there are tools in place where an ignorant person, regardless of their financial status, cannot just show up at my home to harass me.
Yeah, you've told me that the RCMP would show up when your mother-in-law would call them, and they would say to your mother-in-law, you need to leave her alone and you need to allow her to have a space and have a rest.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, they've made it clear that it doesn't matter who you are. A mom's well-being is in her own home, and regardless of how you feel, you're not welcome to my residence if you don't respect my marriage.
Right.
You know?
Do you feel that your life, where it is now, has gone in the way that you had anticipated when you immigrated to Canada?
Actually, it's been great.
Yeah.
It's been great because I have amazing kids. I enjoy sending my kids to the public school just across the house. I can walk. I just love that we're in a country where you can make decisions to support your family, and there are resources to help you.
Right.
You just need to show up.
Yeah.
You just need to show up. You just need to work, file your taxes, do your job, vote who you prefer. And I love that.
Wow. So what's next for you and your family?
Nothing much. We're just happy.
Right now you're going with the flow?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's one day at a time.
Yeah.
That's it. When you're raising a family, you just make sure that every day your child feels safe and cared for.
Yeah.
And whatever relationship you have, like marriage, friendship, they're healthy.
Yeah.
Because when you are not in a healthy marriage or healthy relationship with other people, your child is the one that pays the price. So I do advise people that 20 years or 15 years of raising a child, you need to have healthy relationship, because if you don't, your child is going to keep the cycle of toxic living.
Right. What do you hope that your story will do in terms of how will it impact the community? I shared that we're doing the 50 women, 50 voices, 50 stories. So beyond our beautiful Kelowna and all of that it provides in terms of being a destination in our nation, our stories are going to become voices that tell of the resilience, our ability to overcome adversity and trauma, and to establish a community that functions for all of us, no matter where you are, what you're experiencing. How do you think that your story is going to play a role in that?
I think the biggest lesson is it's okay to be alone.
Yeah.
If you're in a toxic, abusive relationship.
Yeah.
It's okay to be alone as a woman.
Yeah.
It's also okay to go no contact with biological family.
Right.
It's also okay to teach your kids that certain grandparents or uncles and aunties are not safe people to have until they are adults.
Right.
And it's okay to teach your child that safe people don't force connection. They actually allow it to grow.
Wow.
Yeah, it's okay.
That is amazing.
Yeah, it's okay.
It is okay.
Yeah.
It is okay to create those boundaries and stand by them.
And it's okay to be white. I tell people, like, it's okay. Because sometimes I meet white people struggling to accept themselves, and I'm like, it's okay.
Yeah.
And the bad actors on both sides shouldn't determine your worth as a white man or woman. Like my mother-in-law is white and horrible, but they're amazing white women I see all the time,
right,
supporting their families, supporting their blended family life. So yeah, the few bad actors don't define a race
Yeah.
or anything. And there are horrible step parents out there.
Yeah.
But they don't define,
Yeah.
you
What
know,
every other step parent
exactly.
is
So,
going to be.
and there are healthy ex-wives and ex-husbands that prioritize their child's well-being over their personal feelings,
Right.
bitterness. So,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
true. Is there anything that you wanted to share today that maybe our conversation didn't get to?
I think if you're going to immigrate,
Yeah.
remember that it might not be worth it sometimes. It's okay to remain where you are.
Yeah.
And yeah, as an immigrant, I would say sometimes immigration will cost you your life. I almost committed suicide a couple of times in college. So
Yeah.
really think about it, have a backup plan,
Yeah.
because sometimes you might have to go back home because it's healthier there than being here. The people
Right.
here are more used to the systems, and even them are sometimes they are struggling. Most people, like even my husband, he struggles to live in Kelowna. He struggles to be Canadian.
Yeah.
You know, and so sometimes immigration is not the solution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that, Ngozi. It's been an awesome opportunity to have you here. And
Thank you.
I actually feel a little bit emotional because I really wanted a sister to step to the mic. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks.